This is Bob Rourke with Business Leaders Podcast, and today we're incredibly fortunate to have Rob Healy from Lighter Charms as a guest today on the show. We're going to let Rob introduce himself. I think you're going to be fascinated by the journey. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Bob.
Super. I tell you what, Rob, to get everybody tracked in, tell us a little bit about the business that you have and your journey to this point.
Okay. Well, we invented a new product called Lighter Charms. And what it is a decorative charm for disposable lighters that help you snuff your stuff.
All right, and I'm going to take, and for the folks that are going to be able to see it on the video, I'm going to take and move it. You can see what they look like. All right, for you guys that are listening, you're just going to have to imagine. So, all right, sorry, Rob, here we go.
No, absolutely. Well, the best-selling lighters in the world are Bic single-color lighters, or in the United States, I should say. They're currently trying to conquer China. They just built a factory over there, so that'll be great. This gives people an opportunity to decorate their lighter however they want. Now, Bic was very smart, and they saw how popular their single-color lighters were, and they thought people wanted to have a few more options. You know, something that was a little more personable to them, sports teams, that sort of thing. And those are great. I mean, they're fantastic. The only problem is that you can't change the look of your lighter when you buy it with one of those graphic sleeve wraps. And we thought, well, that's not really as much freedom as we could have. So we came up with this. It's like a wine charm for lighters. You know, you can go ahead and slide it on your lighter. It fits every full-size Bic, as well as Lints lighters, Elite, Scripto, and several others.
And here's my Colorado version, right there, for you folks can see it. Right.
Yeah, and so we wanted to make sure that, it's a great idea. And there were people who were making lighter wraps and that sort of thing. But none of them were, it was very hard to store them. You know, you couldn't keep them anywhere. Let's say you have a wrap, you can put it, off to the side or in an ashtray or somewhere else. And what we wanted to do was make it collectible. So we made them interchangeable. So you can now take your charm out of the silicone band. Basically a silicone band slides right up your lighter. You pop the charm in and out based on your mood, and you can keep your collection on the fridge or someplace magnetic. And what that does is it enables you to collect them, but you can also keep them out of the hands of kids and pets. They're very small, so they look like candy, so it's a safety feature. Bic is very big on safety, and so one of the things that we wanted to do was incorporate that and make sure that was at the forefront as well.
You know, as the folks are sitting and going like, so you've got this charm for the lighter. How in the world, tell us about the journey from, I think I'm going to do this, to we're sitting here now with it done. So, and before we do that, tell us a little bit about yourself in the early years before you started this.
Okay. I was always a huge movie fan. And so I had decided to move to LA to try and become a movie writer. And it didn't work out exactly the way I thought, but it was a whole lot of fun. I actually ended up selling a story to Ron Howard and Brian Grazer at Imagine. And that really, it was addictive, but it took forever. It took so long to pitch and get through the door and that sort of thing. And so I started looking at at advertising agencies. And I had a great opportunity given to me by the owner of the last ad agency that I worked for, who took a chance on me and ended up working there for 9 great years, and it was amazing. But while I was there, I actually had open heart surgery. It was very surprising. Did not expect it. And so now when I get excited, I tick. I have a mechanical valve in there, and the doctor was like, all right, well, your beer drinking, wine drinking days are over. I was like, I'm on blood thinner. He said, yes, you're on blood thinner. So I said, okay, well, that's that. And as I was home, and I was wondering, I said, well, is cannabis a possibility? I've been reading a lot about it. And they were like, oh yeah, that's fine. Well, I wasn't hearing that from, police and our government and law enforcement and that sort of thing. So I was a little hesitant about it. But being in North Carolina, it was I had access to all of my advertising group. And as I started thinking, I thought, well, cannabis, that's an interesting thing. Nice something to relax with. As a substitute for wine or beer, I guess. But first of all, how do I get it? Where do I do it? And once you do that, you're stuck with a pipe, bowl, a bong. No matter what you put into it, you have to figure out a way to put it out. We have the lighter, and that's great. You've got a pipe, that's great. What you don't have is a snuffer. And we thought, well, okay, you've got some pipe tampers out there, and they're usually consist of metal. And there are even people in this space, in this industry, that have like a metal spot on it. But we wanted to use it as an opportunity for self-expression, personalization. Turn your, the best-selling lighters into the world into a billboard that you control. And I think that having that, and by making it glass, it becomes almost like a piece of jewelry for your lighter. It has incredible quality, UV printed and sealed. So kind of the same thing that women will use for their nails, where you hit it with the light, boom, incredibly hard, incredibly resilient. And we like to joke that it costs as much as a medium specialty coffee and lasts about 3 years longer. But yeah, and like I said, you can put them on the fridge, interchange them, and being glass and having an oval shape, they're 18 millimeters, they do work as a pipe snuffer for almost any size bowl, bong, or pipe for the creators. So you're saving money as well on smoke that would otherwise go to waste.
I think about, I have this idea, somewhere in the ink, and take us to that thought process. So you're sitting here and you go, I think there's a need in the marketplace.
Yes.
And then you kind of go, well, so how did many of these ideas die on the kitchen table.
Right.
So why did you go from idea to execution? Take us on that journey.
Sure. Well, and initially it did start off from a cannabis point of view, and brought it to a lawyer, and our lawyer was like, that's fantastic. Congratulations on your great idea. Now it has to do something legal. And we were like, this is terrible. We've got this amazing idea. The problem of charred bottoms of lighters. You're not going to put out a burning house fire with a can of gasoline. So why would you want to put out a lit pipe with a lighter, the bottom of a lighter? It's not the safest thing in the world, but it's necessity. So we
and when you went, we had a bit of brain fade. So what we'll do is I'm going to make that sharp noise. All right, then I know where the link is. All right, so when you went to look for the size of the device and how you were going to affix it to the lighter, and basically the design work, did you come on this design immediately, or was it an iteration? Actually,
it did. We the name Lighter Charms, if you notice on our regular charm, this one here, it's an L and a C, and 4 lighter charms, of course. But then, if you turn it to the side, it looks like a pipe. And that kind of speaks to its secret function. But yeah, so that's how we came up with that initial design. But we had it all designed without the magnet in the back. So we had no way to store it. And as we were kind of going over it, we're like, well, shoot, we've got this great thing. What do we do with it when we have a new one? And so that led to the magnet idea.
And so for you guys to go from concept to manufacturing, were you able to have it manufactured in the U.S., or what was that journey like?
We did. Our lawyer was able to recommend a prototype manufacturer called Touchstone 3D, and they were great. They were laughing when I presented the idea. A refrigerator magnet being used to decorate a lighter that's also a pipe snuffer. It's a little odd, but they got right onto it, and at first they asked us if we wanted acrylic or glass, and of course glass was going to be more expensive, but we wanted that permanence and that ability not to get funky when it's dropped or used or that sort of thing. And then we tried it out with a bunch of bolts from the hardware store, a bunch of pipes that we bought, and see which worked best, and tried to make sure that it was as universal as we could possibly make it. Now, for hookah smokers and that sort of thing, that's probably not going to be the best. It's such a wide bowl, usually over 18 millimeters. But yeah, for the most part, we went around and did a lot of shopping and trying things out.
So we've gone through the idea, a bit of your background, some of the creation process, who you brought along for the ride. So now you're going like, well, we think there's a market. So take us through your process when you actually went out to see if there was a market.
Yeah. Okay. So we had no idea that graphic lighters were so popular. And actually their compound annual growth rate is above 10%, whereas it's above 6% for their regular lighters. And those are big numbers from 2016, their annual report. So
for the folks, let me stop just a second. For the folks that don't know, how big is the lighter market? Do you know?
Oh yes. In 2015, it was at 599 million in sales, and I believe BIC is tracking into 700 million into 2018.
On lighters.
On lighters, yeah, that's their lighter department only. They make I believe they sell 4 billion lighters a year. So it's a
robust market.
It's a robust market. Yes, exactly, exactly. So enormous popularity, and we were lucky enough to have access to those to that research and to find out, hey, where is this going? It's been around since the 70s, and of course this is now how they're doing it. What can we do to improve upon this or increase freedom for customers? And the American the American flag wrapped BIC lighter is a perfect example of that. It's a great lighter. You never, hopefully someone doesn't have that same lighter. You won't lose it. If you get it stolen, you might be able to identify it.
And before the show, we were talking about this theft problem with lighters.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I don't.
Rampant. Yes.
Is it overt or just incidental, you think?
I think it's incidental. It might be overt with once we start putting lighter charms on there, but the idea is to make your lighters and the thief identifiable. So if you see somebody with your charm on it, you're going to know right away. And yeah, no, the average lighter user spends or buys 16 lighters a year. And goes through, if they're an average smoker, like let's say a pack-a-day cigarette smoker.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a pretty big market. 70% are looking for something that speaks to their own personal interests and needs, so as we started looking at that, we're like, how do we make it so that even more personalized? And that's where we ended up.
Okay, so you have your design, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're going to go out and go, I need to go see if I can sell some of these.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit who your primary customer is and what that process looked like.
Sure. It's our primary customer is going to be first anybody who uses a lighter. If you do use a lighter, probably for more than just birthday candles. But if you do use a lighter, chances are you've had it stolen. People are borrowing it. If you're using it to smoke with, then you may have that crusty bottom on the underside of your lighter. You may want the world to know what you're feeling one day, and so you put on a smiley face instead of a devil, or maybe the devil wins. But either way, when you get up, you can change your lighter, and it can match your mood.
And so, you obviously your first sale.
Yes.
You went somewhere, and somebody said, "Great idea. I want." Take us to that moment when you actually went somewhere to go sell some of your product. I'm assuming that's what you did.
It was actually. We went to the Champs trade show in Las Vegas, and that's the #1 counterculture trade show. It was, the response was really unique, and we thought we felt amazing about it. And Apache Distributors, through one of the managers at Smoker Friendly. Smoker Friendly is based in Boulder, international, just a wonderful group of people. But they have an international presence in smoke shops and tobacco specialists. They also sell pipes, and one of their franchisees, I had stopped in and visited with her and shared one of our charms, the Rosie the Riveter charm. She loved them and thought, hey, you should bring these to Smoker Friendly. And we would love, that was one of our dream clients, is to get in there. And so it turns out her husband was a supervisor there and was able to talk to one of their distributors. And that was Apache Distribution. And those guys were awesome. And they bought a case and we're off and running. And I believe it's now in every Smoker Friendly in Montana, Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming.
And so you guys have been actively in the market for how long?
We had been actively in the market since February. In this iteration. Now, we did have a few bumpy starts. Back in 2015, we thought we were going to be ready. And we were making them on paper discs so we could, do them to order. And then we were using a different kind of adhesive. And it was handmade, so you'd put it on the metal disc and then put the graphic on it and then another layer of the adhesive. It just was not going to make any sense for any sort of volume. And so we were looking at about 500,000 units from 2 different distributors. And we had to press pause. It was so tough to do, but we knew we couldn't keep up. And we didn't want to provide something that was going to fall to the wayside. There's enough stories about people who don't come through. That we didn't want to end up in that group, and so we had to stop and then try and automate the process, which was now taking place. We hired a company who's our current manufacturer, CJR Corp, in Matthews, North Carolina, but they have a factory in Taiwan, and so that's where we're being manufactured right now. And so to try and do that automated, and I just speak English, so it's luckily they're fluent and just amazing, an amazing group, and so they were able to pull it off, and it took about 2 years because we did it on a super small budget, and but we could not be happier with the way things turn out now.
As you look along your journey, right, to the point where you're actually putting them in the stores. What was some of the best advice that you got along the way?
Oh gosh, we got a lot of amazing advice. One piece of advice from a good friend of mine who's in-house counsel at a leading character brand. He was like, "Demand is better than supply," and that was always that's always stuck in my head, That's the first thing that comes to mind, but there have been so many influences.
Let's go to the place where, let's say there's a budding person out there that wants to develop a product. What advice would you offer to them as far as, sequence, how you would go about it if you were going to do this again?
I kind of got lucky in my situation because of the advertising, because of the agency and the access. If I had to start with a graphic designer from scratch, that would have taken a lot longer. Mm-hmm. And our graphic designer's amazing, our IT guy's amazing, our web designer, everybody, I'd worked with them for so long, for so many years before that. But I would say, take the scientific method. Don't gravitate to people that tell you it's wonderful. Find people who tell you the problems with your product. If you just want something to put on the refrigerator, we'll use one of our magnets, and you can put it up there. You know, it's a 1.5 pound magnet on the back of our charms. So yeah, we'll put your idea up on the thing. But if you're really serious about it, find people who are going to be negative, or find people who say no, or find people who challenge you. Because those are the things that allow you to, in your mind sometimes as you're designing things or come up, it's easy to see the rosy view. And you do, you know, you give yourself you psych yourself up, and every single day you're so excited to talk about it. But it's helpful, it's more helpful to you, and you're going to get where you're going faster if you have people who challenge you.
What do you know, along that path, what do you think that are the chief misconceptions that people have about putting something like this together and bringing it to market?
One of the things that was interesting is we've had some people look at this and just walk right past it. Like, not stop to look. It's new. It's not a familiar invention at all. And so trying to get them to stop and spend some time with it, if I'm able to explain it, then the benefits, you know, there's like 6 benefits per group, and those are just their favorites to talk about. But, you know, because it's got fantastic margins for retailers, for, you know, and consumers, you know, and back to retailers, it's a continuously refreshed product line. I mean, you can introduce new seasons, new charms, new designs, and so your customers constantly have a reason to come back to your store. It fits almost every pipe that they own or bowl that they own. Chances are they own big lighters, and so these will fit all of those lighters.
You know, for these charms, what's the typical retail price point for one of these?
$4.99.
$4.99. You know, and you know, thinking about, I'm presuming you had a pro forma put together.
Yes.
You know, and you look at where you started with optimism and hope, and you're like, well, I hope this works, because I'm pretty committed.
Right.
How, from initiation to this point, we're now in September.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been doing as compared to your thoughts and pro
forma? I think the education component was bigger than we thought, and we're still. It took us a while to find that sweet spot on the price. Mm-hmm. You know, for let's say celebrity brands that we're speaking with, they would not be excited to go $5.99 versus $4.99, and so we're like, okay, well that's the reality of the situation. We thought, 1,000. We were able to work it down from 1,000 minimum for custom to 1,000. So a substantial decrease. But for some of our target groups, maybe the head shops with, just a small number of stores, maybe 1,000 is a little out of reach. So we're definitely still kind of finding the perfect customer for where we are now, and then ways to accommodate every customer that sells a lighter or a pipe.
You know, I think about where the box is light blue. For the folks we showed earlier in the video, when you look at your display point and color selection and so on, take us through that thought process and why you picked what you did.
Sure. Well, number one, we wanted to be very careful about cannabis and the legal status in the United States. So rather than focusing on like a snuff your stuff or a snuffer first idea, and we're originally going to call it the smoke charmer, because that's literally kind of what it was doing with our first idea. But as we started talking about it, we thought, okay, lose your lighter less is going to be a much friendlier tagline. The Carolina blue, or the blue tones, I should say, is I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and my business partner, we both met in North Carolina. So we thought North Carolina, Carolina blue, not to alienate State or Duke fans, but or anybody else for that matter, but that is exactly where that.
So what you're telling me is if you were from Tennessee, this package would have been orange.
It would have been orange, yes. Maybe a little more visible in the stores, I don't know.
You know, it's interesting, and I think about product development and for the folks that are out there, that have these nascent ideas, and for, I'm going to stop for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I need to go to another question.
Yeah.
I've asked you that one already.
Yeah, I'm so glad you do that too, where we could stop, and because I'm like, I know sometimes I'll like get off on a little track.
Usually, it doesn't happen a lot. So we'll do this. With your approach to marketing and what you've done so far, what are you targeting? What do you think you're targeting for the growth of your company over the next 3 to 5 years? In terms, I presume it's either units or cases.
Yes, it's actually going to be units. Our goal for this year is going to be 250,000 units.
And a unit obviously is one charm.
Just one charm and one band. Yep, and there's 20 per box.
Okay.
Yep, and 50 boxes per case.
All
so
right.
they come in cases of 1,000.
Right.
Yep. And so I'm sorry.
For your goal for the year, what are you targeting, and then what do you think you're looking for your targets over the next 3 to 5 years?
Right. So our goal this year is 250,000 units, and we're focusing mostly on head shops and the tobacco specialty area. We are amping up for C-stores, and our national sales manager, who will be joining us in 2018, has a tremendous amount of C-store experience.
I'm sorry, C-store.
Convenience stores.
Okay.
Yep. They represent, I believe they're the biggest retail, the biggest set of retail stores, I guess it's the biggest retail in the country. They have 33% of the retail locations in the country, and that may have gone up 154,000 convenience stores.
Wow.
So it's massive, and now that Amazon is looking on getting into the space where it's almost a self-serve convenience store and that sort of thing, I think anywhere where they sell lighters, that's going to be huge for us. But we wanted to make sure that we could handle the volume, and right now we can run 100,000 units a month. So as we get that system in place, and I think the system is the most important thing, because that would that allows us to building the system rather than, I guess, going back to advice, I'd say focus on the system and not necessarily on the device, because if you can get it made in an efficient manner and you can repeat it, your life is going to be so much better. But yeah,
So we're looking at lighter domination in
Yes.
3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
In talking to your current customers, what kind of feedback are you getting from your customers as far as either recommendations or about design or packaging, or what the customer's saying? What are you hearing?
Skulls. Everybody loves skulls. Now, we're in an interesting place because there are so many male-centered products that are out there, and ours are unisex. Men and women both can use these as lighter decorations, but if I were to say, I would say we would focus on our female clients first, and so when we consider designs, we want to make sure that it's going to be it's going to appeal to both, and so that's very important for us.
Do you know your demographic, whether you're more sales to men or women at this point?
We're more sales to men based on their frequency in head shops, but Mary Jane just released, that's Snoop Dogg's social media company. They just released a story about women are the biggest consumers of cannabis and the biggest smokers. So it fits nicely with the fact that we make lighter jewelry as a way of thinking about it. And so I think that, that's, if we had to pick one, it would probably be women.
I'm looking at the various designs on the charms, and when you were making up your mind on what designs you were going to put on the charms. Take us through that thought process of what you were going to pick.
Sure. Well, we definitely needed something that wouldn't be, being in Colorado, the Colorado flag is incredibly popular. So that was a natural for our Colorado customers. And there are 741 dispensaries, I believe, alone in Colorado. And so we knew that, you know, the Colorado flag was going to be big. But in terms of national sales, the American flag is always a huge hit. And we wanted a little bit different version. So we have one that's more waving than just kind of a straight up charm. We definitely went with Rosie the Riveter. We can't sell her in Canada, believe it or not, though. Just because of the way the rights issues work, we can sell it in the United States, but not Canada. But that was actually started by Westinghouse, designed by Westinghouse years ago. I have to look it up, but yeah, so it is in the public domain and has become very popular in terms of a rallying image, especially given some of the things that have been going on in Washington. And so we felt that was hugely important, and that's our activist streak. The alien, not part of the activist streak, but aliens, we were prioritizing skulls at first because of some feedback that we had gotten. But the more we talked to end users and kind of engaged people on social, we thought, well, you know, it looks like the alien is going to be a much, going to be a little better. And actually, that's been our bestseller for men and women both.
I'll be.
Yeah. And then, you know, we thought, okay, the lighter charm one is going to be, you know, especially the LC, lighter charm. We think it's a cool design. We offer that one, but we can also swap that with a Rasta flag, which is a perennial favorite.
You know, as you go through this evolution, and you started selling not that many months ago,
right?
And you now have experience in mileage. What are the biggest ahas or takeaways that you've had between start and maybe now?
I would say the method of preferred communication. You know, in the advertising world, there's so many emails flying back and forth, and just people are so incredibly busy that once, and that was one of the things that we loved when we found Smoker Friendly and Apache distribution. They go around, like Apache goes and visits every single store. There's a personal relationship there. And forget texting, forget emails, call. You know, get on the phone, do the legwork. There's no substitute for that relationship. And the relationship just isn't there via email. I mean, once the relationship is established, that's great. But there really is no substitute for that.
Well, you know, we'll go right on the other side of that. So for the folks that do want to find you on social media,
yes,
how do they find you?
Yeah, so we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook is facebook.com/lightercharms. Instagram is lighter_charms, and Twitter is lightercharms. Right. And you can access those through our homepage.
And so if somebody wants to reach out to you, what's a good email to reach out to your company?
Sure. Mine is Rob, R-O-B, as in boy, at lightercharms.com. And that's lightercharms.com.
You know, and we were looking also that, you know, for, I don't know where the podcast will go and how many years it'll be out there. As far as I know, forever.
Yeah.
And so let's say there's somebody in another state and they can't find your lighter charm, but they're interested. Can they find that on your website, or how do they find it?
Absolutely. You can go on the website. If you're just looking for like one or two or 5, 10, you can get those all through the website. But we can also, my phone number's on there, sales@lightercharms.com. You can reach us if you're a shop that wants your own. You can go to the website. There is a place on there for custom charms, and you're going to see it's listed much cheaper than the rest of them. There is a minimum order, of course, But yeah, we can talk about all that, find out what your needs are. Whether you're a store that needs 1,000 or you're, a brand that needs 100,000 or 1,000,000. We're happy to jump in on it, and we can handle it.
For the folks that are already, they've already bought in, they have their lighter charm,
Yeah.
all right, and they're going, okay, what's coming? So is there a sneak peek or anything that you're excited about that's coming over the next year or so?
There is. There's two different products. One is tied directly to the personalization aspect of it. And we're not going to talk too much about it just yet because we're still working the kinks out, but it takes personalization to a whole new level. And we think that the easier we make it and the more personalized you can make all the things you own, whether it's your lighter or whether it's jewelry offerings that we might be coming out with, or whether it's something for the emerging vapor market. Then all of these things we're already down the road on a couple of things. Let's say that.
So, in circling back a little bit, when you started the company, how many folks were basically involved in the start besides you?
One other.
So there was two of you.
Yeah. There was just two of us. My business partner, Craig Arrington.
And you. And
Yeah.
so you guys have been paddling this boat by yourselves.
Yes.
All right. How many folks are on the team now?
Right now, well, it's the two of us still. But you mean with our distributors and I would say it's up to about 15 people right now.
And I think about just mechanics, and so you have your product manufactured, and then it comes into the country, and then and I think about from manufacturing to delivery.
Yes.
Walk us through your process. What does that look like?
Yep. They've made it very easy. We basically all we have to do is send an AI file to the factory, and they will upload it, and then the machine is off and running. We have the aluminum pieces that are machined, and then they will we put them on these trays that will run under the printer. Mm-hmm. It goes across and prints, gets amazing quality, and then they will be sealed. A suction will pick it up and drop the glass cap on once the UV adhesive is on there, and then it will be flipped over and add the magnets. And again, that's sealed with UV. It's imported by CJR, so they make things they've made things so simple. We have a harmonized tariff, so we get right in. There's no assessing what do we charge for it, and then once it arrives, it usually arrives to me in cases as assembled, because we wanted to cut down the work that people have to do in setting up their displays. We wanted to be able to open and go. And it does cause a little bit of increase in the dimensional cost, but it's amazing in terms of what we're able to provide the customer and how easy we make life.
And so it comes in, and CJR ships it to you.
Uh-huh.
And then you're in charge of order fulfillment.
Yes, right from there.
And so if the order's messed up, you can go look in the mirror.
That's exactly who I blame. Luckily, we don't have many conversations with that employee, but occasionally something does come up.
And then that's you and your partner, so you have this plan. So if you were going to add members to your team, when you're talking about growth, what would be the next member of your team that you would add?
Our national sales manager. We've been making a lot of the mistakes before we get started, and he has been an amazing resource. But he's going to be the very first one, or very next one, I should say, that we bring on, and we want to use him to the best of his abilities. And the one or two off shops is probably not what he does best. And then with all the relationships that I've built here with distributors, I'll keep those, but he's going to open it up then to some international and national folks. Some lighter manufacturers are interested in possibly having these attached to their lighters, and then they would ship them over, which would be even easier. and they would have their own charms. So you get the charms that they make and the charms that Pick makes, and when they eventually do. So, or just the charms that we make.
When you were looking out and doing your tactical and strategic design, of how you want the company to grow.
Yeah.
I would not have personally guessed national sales manager. Take us to that thought process. Why that role or person?
Right. We feel like we've gotten the product to where it needs to be, and especially after the 2-year reset that we had, we wanted to again make all the mistakes. And by having him involved, we were able to. It was really great for us because we didn't have to pay a lot of those pretty substantial fees that come along with bringing in someone of his caliber. And so it was kind of a cost saving method for us, as well as something that we then wanted to prioritize because getting the word out and tapping into all of his 30 years of clients in the C-store and big box space, we're able to. He looks great because we're able to scale up as we need to because it's all automated. We can simply add another shift, which adds another 100,000 units in 8 hours. For 8-hour shift for an entire month, and that's with one person, just making sure nothing goes wrong. So if we need to, we can get there. We have gotten our system up and running, and so we feel like because we have so many things in place already, we feel like he's gonna have the best option for success, and we feel we're at a place where we are on par in terms of professionalism and our product quality with the brands much bigger than us.
I think about that, and there's an over success, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you wake up and he goes, we have this enormous order.
Yeah.
How in between order and delivery, what's the time lag?
Order and delivery right now is 7 to 9 weeks, so it's a pretty good lag. And so hopefully once we're into 2018 as well, we're getting through reducing that down to 3 to 6 weeks. I think is our ideal, and then 2 to 4 weeks would be fantastic.
Optimal.
Yeah, once we're being made in the United States.
Well, we've been all over the place and talking about this thing. It's really cool.
Oh,
I have one with the Colorado flag sitting here. And is there any parting advice or guidance you would offer to the folks that are considering this journey, or any other things that you think would be merit passing on? Yes,
I would say if you're passionate about your idea, try and tell the world about it. There are going to be some people that don't get it, that don't like you, that don't understand. Don't waste your time with them. As people, I'm sure they're fantastic, but it's not the best use of your time. And so I would say just move on. There are more clients out there, more potential customers out there. And as you continue to do that, you may find that some of those clients that were like, no, come back around and like, I would like to work with you now. And that's just the way it works. And there's no hard feelings, and don't take it personally.
Rob, we really appreciate you taking the time and telling us your story.
Thank you so much, Bob. I really, really appreciate it.
You betcha.